Hello everybody, and welcome to Amateur Cast, where I get you and your replays to be casted for my entertainment, and hopefully to help you improve a little bit as well. I am your host, ZookaMan, and we're going to be going into a ZVT. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our players. In the bottom left-hand side of the map, Frost, we have Shalashaka. Something like that. And he's going to have a clan tag of a duck. Because ducks are cool. And his opponent on the opposite side of the map, we see free oTo coming in as the blue Zerg player. And yes, my voice did just crack there, guys. That was really embarrassing. So a little bit of disclaimer, guys, before we go into this game. I was sick pretty bad last week with some nasty stuff in my throat, my nose being clogged up and stuff like that, and it was actually the primary reason why I didn't put up any casts last week, so I apologize for that right now. Also, just to say, as a little bit of a disclaimer, I did cast last night, and I did go on my show, so I should be fine tonight, but in case I'm a little bit struggling in that regard, cut me a little bit of slack, more than you normally would with my bad casting. But that being said, let's get into this game for the fun casting. We're going to be seeing Extractor Cart first coming out from oTo, which means that the spawning pool is probably going to be coming up right then. There we go. All fine and dandy. Probably going to be seeing a quicker metabolic boost, as opposed to going for like a hatchery first or something along those lines. Might be doing that just to get a little bit of Zerglings out of the map, just so he feels a little bit more comfortable, which is a more popular strategy down in the lower leagues. I don't remember exactly what league this is in, so you guys are gonna have I don't know, I want to say Diamond, but I've been casting a lot of Diamond games recently, so it might just be stuck in my head. Regardless, we are seeing our Terran player going up onto his standard supply depot barracks, and it does look like he's gonna be looking to take looks like he might be wanting to take an expansion there, but he's gonna go down, check out, get a mineral patch, and finish up the supply depot. Really kind of strange, but alright. Whatever floats your duck. Ha! This is duck. So we're seeing the Terran player only on one yacht. It's going to be getting up his orbital command. No second gas has been taken yet, which means we're not really seeing an early tech route in the form of a factory or a quick starport or either or both. Which means that this makes me think he's probably going to be going for an earlier command center to kind of follow this up. That, or he's looking to go into heavy marine pressure or heavy bio pressure just in general. But as indeed we're going to be going for that command center. All fine and dandy. He does have a Reaper coming out, so he'll be able to scout out a little bit. Doesn't really have a whole lot of units besides that, which means the couple of Zerglings that are heading out across the map will be able to get a little bit of damage done. Metabolic boost is about halfway done at this point. That should be coming up fairly shortly, and Reaper and Zerglings are just going to completely bypass one another. No, Reaper's going to come back and kind of help take care of that. With a little bit of kiting, he should be able to take care of that, and the Zerglings aren't... Oh, gosh, it's embarrassing. Zerglings aren't fast enough to yet to catch up to the Reaper, but they will be shortly, so he needs to get good micro in here now while he has the opportunity to, and is going to be able to keep the Reaper and kill all those Zerglings. He's going to have a little bit of low health, so he's going to be able to go out and get a little bit more of a scout, but not really going to be able to do too much. Back home, we see our Zerg player going to be going up onto a natural expansion. Probably got that right after he got his pool up. I mean, my guess, best guess, because it is just now popped up. No harvesters are on that yet. Does have his queens out, but is going to be going for a large number of Zerglings across the map, which I kind of do agree with, considering the fact that his opponent is going to be going up onto another command center, and doesn't really have a whole lot of units. Yeah, he's going to be able to get a couple of Hellions out shortly here, but that means that he's going to have to cancel either one or both of these command centers back home, which is not exactly what he wants to have happen in any regards to the term. He's going to send up a few units here, but there should be enough here to be able to block against any sort of bailing bust that might happen. Isn't going to be looking to do that, however. He's going to be looking up onto his third base, get a little bit of contain done, get a bit of scouting, make sure his opponent isn't doing anything really too crazy, and oTo is going to be going up onto a fairly safe positioning. Going up onto that 3 base. Our Terran player finally going to be deciding to get a little bit more of units here before he tries to expand once again. Does have an additional couple of command centers in the main base, which I kind of do like. It is keeping his money down, but he does need to remember to keep up on his units, because that's actually the department that he's lacking in right now. A few more units here, a couple more Hellions I would suggest, and he'll be able to take care of the Zerglings. And after that, he'll probably be able to take his natural expansion, if not his third. That being said, our Zerg player is up onto his third base at this point, which means he's going to be getting into drones, and more drones here. That would be my best guess. You don't really usually go up on the third base if you're wanting to go into really heavy pressure. We're always seeing double gases grabbed here at the natural expansion, which makes me think that either he's going to be going up into upgrades and roaches, or he's going to be wanting to transition into Spire Tech. Either one is a completely viable option. I like the roaches a little bit more right now, considering the big unit for our Terran player is the Hellions, and when the Hellions are countered by the roaches, then he won't be in quite as solid a position as he was before. That being said, he is going to go up onto his own upgrades at this point. While our Zerg player is going up onto his upgrades, he's going to now start saturating his gas, but he has a couple of Marines, or a couple of SCVs down. He needs to get that saturated properly fairly shortly here. So we're already seeing the Baneling that's coming up from oTo back home, which is definitely a good addition to the army, which means that we're probably going to be seeing the Spire coming out in the next couple of minutes here. As usually when you see a Baneling nest and Zergling pressure this early in the game, but throughout the game like we have seen, it is usually indicative of a Muta Baneling style of play, which is very prevalent in a lot of the leagues, so we're gonna have to see if Spire can come down. I would guess that's what's gonna happen now that the layer is finished up, because that just makes the most logical sense. Zerglings are gonna get roasted way up here in the natural expansion, and our Terran player is gonna be able to go up into his natural expansion and his third base fairly safe. He's gonna even be getting a couple supply dibs just to help that, a little bit. Meanwhile, back home we do have the Spire coming down, but our Terran player does have the golden opportunity here. He can get in and do a little bit of damage, especially to the third base here, which doesn't really have much to defend. He does have a Spine Crawler, but he has more Hellions than a Spine Crawler will be able to take out. So he will be able to get some drone pressure done before that Spire gets up, but he can't overstay his welcome after the Spire gets up, because once the Spire gets up and the Mutas are on the field, the Hellions will be essentially useless at that point. Essentially. Back home, we are going to be seeing our Terran player not going up onto his third and fourth gases, but he's going to be getting his +1/+1, does have his stem already up, and combat shields as well. Armory is coming down behind this as well, which means I think he's going to get a couple of upgrades, maybe for Widow Mines, or he's maybe wanting to continue with the Hellion Force. Not exactly sure what the plan is for that. Banelings are going to be cut off here from the Hellions, and they're going to be taken care of fairly well. Zerglings need to be careful here not to get fried away, but here comes the engagement here. Zerglings is just not able to get the surround off that they need to. Spire is going to be coming up on the field very shortly, though, which means that the Mutalisks are going to be out here to be able to help defend. However, a lot of Zerglings are going to be going down here. The Reapers are going to be going down, but the Hellions are going to be able to clean up the rest of the army, and they're going to get a little bit of free reign here until those Mutalisks hit the field. They'll be able to probably drop into the natural expansion and get a little bit of damage done. Back home, he does have his +2 on the weapons upgrades coming up. He's a little bit low on his gas count, probably because he hasn't taken these gas geysers yet. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing him take a third base, and I definitely wouldn't be opposed to seeing him come up into this third base and try to get a bit of damage done, kill this queen, and stop the gas production. That's the big thing here. With the Mutalisks coming out on the field, he needs to stop the gas production as much as he possibly can, because already oTo's a little bit low in that department. Mutas are going to be coming up into the middle of the map, going to be pretty much chasing away the Hellions. However, we do have a sizable Bioforce going to be stomping out across the map at this point. Mostly Marines, but that should be exactly what he needs now. Medevac production started up, which means that the Marines are going to be a little bit more potent at this point. Zerglings are going to be coming up around the back. A couple of good hits are going to go up on the Marines, but most of the Marines are going to continue to rally forward, which is kind of odd. He's going to be going for an all-in at his opponent's base as opposed to going to defend his, but I suppose he was going to get there first, which means he's going to be in a better position. Regardless, we do have 20 more Zerglings on the way. We do have that +1/+1 in the sky, and that +2 on the ground for the Carapace. So a few Marines are going to get caught out here. There's only one Bangling in this army, so he's going to have to be able to kind of try to keep that alive as long as possible and get the best damage down with it. A couple more Banglings are going to be joining up over here as well, while we see our Terran player kind of just transition over into Siege Tank tech. Hellbats are going to be cleaned up in the middle of the map. They're pretty much going to be going essentially useless, and the Medvacs are going to have to pick up the units. Suddenly our Terran player not exactly in the best position, doesn't even have any units in the bunker, which is exactly where he wants the units to be, so that they don't get caught off by the Zerglings and surrounded like that. He's going to get a couple of units in here, but the Zerglings are going to be able to get this round, and that's going to pretty much take care of that, folks. Do I think that our Terran player is out of the game? By no means, but he is going to take quite a bit of damage here. The third base is going to be under fire. He's going to lose quite a few SCVs to the mules up here, which is never a good thing to have happen. But the Terran player is going to be able to survive this, and the Zerg player is going to back up, at least for now. No fourth base back home for our Terran player, or a Zerg player, but he's not even getting his third gases yet. Would like to see him saturate those as well as grab his fourth base. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing him move in a little bit here too. From the Terran player, I'd like to see more bunkers come up, and I would like to see a couple of Marauders splash into this army, keep up with his medevac production, because he only has 2 of those, and if he's not going to go for the Marauder production, medevacs are going to be his best friend, along with a few siege tanks here and there, which is going to make this army a little bit more potent at the end of the game. Fourth base is coming up from our Zerg player back home, is going to be going up onto his +2 flyer, as well as that +2 melee upgrades for his Lings/Banglings. We're going to be seeing I'm going to pause there for some reason. Zerglings are going to be getting into the SCVs. A lot of SCV skills are going to go down there. Army is going to get split up fairly efficiently, however, and that's going to take away a lot of the damage of the Bangling hits. However, we did lose quite a bit of SCVs here to this third base, and with our Zerg player going up onto a 5th base as well as a 4th base, Terran player really does need to find a way to kind of get a little bit done here. I do agree with his decision not to really push out, as he doesn't have the units to be able to do that, or for that matter, the resources to be able to do that. Our Zerg player is in a little bit of a better position here, floating a little bit of minerals, so he's able to produce more Zerglings, but it looks like our Terran player is going to be wanting to move out at this point. I personally would have liked to see him wait for another siege tank, as opposed to moving out with what he has right now, because the siege tank count is a little low and able to be sniped pretty easily by the mutalisks. 3-3 coming up from our Terran player. We do have that +2 on the flyer air, and we're missing the +2 on the melee attack as well, coming up from the Zerg player by the time that this is going to be coming out. However, we are going to be seeing that this base is probably going to get scouted. Ooh, might just barely pass over it. Ooh, that would be a bad thing to have happen. Oh, yep, looks like he's going to be able to scout that off. Going to send a few Marines over there to take it out, but isn't going to be dedicating a large number of his forces there. He's going to be looking for the choke point up here in the third base of his opponent. He's not going to be going for he's going to be pre-splitting, but I really much would prefer him kind of trying to stay up here in the choke point where he's got an advantage. That being said, he is going to be able to clean up quite a few units here. Would like to see him add on a few more tanks to this army once again, but looks like that is going to get cleaned up by the Mutalisk, and Zerglings and Banglings can be taking care of the tanks. A couple more Marines are coming out over here, but they're going to probably just die. 5th base is going to be going down, however, which is a good thing to come out of this, but he did lose quite a few Marines in the process. I suppose he's going to get a few drone kills over here as well. +3/+3 is nearing completion from our Terran player at this point. We do have 12 more Mutalisks coming out from our Zerg player, which I don't necessarily agree with. With the large number of Marines we have, Banglings are probably a better choice at this point than going for a large number of Mutalisks. Because, well, as you guys just saw, there were 3 Mutalisks that just died there instantaneously to the Marine Viaball, which is going to be going up onto 3-3 against, I believe, 0 Carapace on the air units. So, not any quite as good for him. Zerg player is going to be going up onto high tech here fairly shortly, about halfway to being complete. Terran player is going to be split his army, but there's not really enough army here to be able to take on Actually, no, going to be going for the tanks as opposed to the Marines. However, he is going to be able to clean that up nice and fine. Back home, we see the third base is finally established from our Terran player, but there is no fourth base. And seeing as he did snipe his opponent's fifth base, that's a good position to go up onto his own fourth base. I would like to see him move out and get a little bit of damage onto the fourth base as well. He's going to be able to throw away these units, but they are going to be getting a few medevacs in the process, which means that he's going to be in a better position there. Every medevac you can snipe with those mutalisks is a help with such a large number of Marines on the field right now. Marines are going to be going up into the fourth base, and that's going to be assaulted. I think that we might be seeing oTo just kind of sack that. However, it looks like we're not. He's just going to roll through the army with banglings, and that's going to be that, folks. There are going to be a few Marines here to be able to take out the remainder of the mutalisks, but there are a little bit too many Zerglings and banglings out on the field right now to be able to take care of that. And there aren't really a whole lot of units out on the field. We do have a Widowmite out here to help the fray, but not really able to do as much damage as our Terran player needs it to do. So, what I'd like to see from the Terran at this point, I definitely like the fact that he's keeping up with his marine production. I would agree with him continuing up with that. I would like to see him take a fourth base, especially for those muling capabilities. That's a big thing. He needs the resources to be able to keep producing the units that he has out on the field. He can kind of stop the gas production right now because he doesn't really necessarily need it. And as you guys can tell, he's kind of floating quite a bit. He's going to be going for an additional command center. I hope that's probably to the left off for fourth base. That would be my best guess. And that's exactly what I'd like to see out of him. Zor player going to be keeping up on his Bangling production. He is going to be at a decent point army-wise. He's going to be up on the 4 bases, but one base is going to be completely devoid of any resource collection of the mineral type. He's going to be going for the gas production, but really not necessary to have this base up just for the gas production. I completely disagree with that, especially as he's taking a 5th base. I would much rather see him take this base and saturate it fully as opposed to taking another base when he has not saturated fully his own 4th base. That means that we are going to be seeing +3 carapace coming out from our Zerg player, and we are going to also be seeing him grab quite a few more overlords as he does get supply blocked here for a moment. Terran player looks like he's wanting to move out here. He does have a large number of Marines here, and doesn't really have a whole lot of medevacs. He's going to keep up with that, but the key to this fight, guys, is going to be if he can keep the if he can split the army correctly. If he can continue to split the army correctly and throw units in the opponent's face and kind of out-macro him in that regard, he'll be in a good position. However, if he takes a lot of damage from the Banglings initially, then he's not going to be in a good position. Tanks are going to be going up here to kind of help out with this. It's going to be moving them forward now, and this is the time where our Zerg player needs to start attacking, because he needs to try to catch the tanks off with those when they're moving. However, we are seeing the Banglings take out the Marines over here, and we are seeing the Mutalisks come over here to kind of ambush the tanks. We did have a little bit of an explosion coming up from the back, but it looks like there's a little bit too many Marines here to take on with the Mutalisks. So definitely going to be doing that. Adding on Marauders in the army composition finally from our Terran player, which is a very good thing to see. And he's going to be able to take down this 4th base. I believe that was, yeah, that's 4th base, and might be able to go down and check up on that 5th base. Or he could just go in, clear some creep, and get into that natural expansion and do a little bit of damage. Just need to be careful about the Banglings popping up. But the Banglings are going to be getting up here fairly shortly, guys. That's going to be able to pretty much clean up the rest of the army. But the Zerglings are going to be getting this round, which is going to do exactly that anyways. However, he is keeping up with his Marine production, which means that he's going to have the Marines available up home. Still would like to see him drop down a 4th base and keep up the production of the units that he has left. Even wouldn't be opposed to him dropping down a few more barracks and just going to be pumping out Marines, because that's exactly what he needs right now. He needs to keep up his bio forces. Yes, he has tanks, and at this point, I think the tank numbers he has is pretty good. He needs to start focusing more on the bio production. He's going to be kind of sieging up outside of the natural expansion, going to be keeping his opponent a little bit contained in there, but there is the 3rd base over here, and the now 4th base down here that are producing units, or producing economy. We are seeing our Terran player move up and take out this 3rd base. And like that, it does fall. We were seeing a little bit of splashes from Marines coming, or Banelings coming out, kind of hitting the siege tanks and the Marines in the front. However, they're only able to get a siege tank and a couple of Marines, so definitely not worth their money there. And our Terran player actually doing pretty well with split, keeping his tanks spread out, as well as keeping his Marines spread out, so that he is able to minimize the damage done by those Banelings. He does know that the Banelings are going to be his biggest problem here. Banelings army is popping up, and they're going to get quite a few good hits off on the army, which is not exactly what our Terran player needs to do, but here comes the remainder of the army, going to be sieging up and coming in to the natural expansion, and there goes oTo leaving the game. So folks, what can we learn from this game? First and foremost, from the Zerg side of things, one of the things I would like to see from him is, first of all, I did point out earlier that the expansion over here didn't get saturated fully very quickly, so that's something that he can work on. He also had a bank problem in the middle, and both players kind of having the bank problem with their gas, not really knowing how to spend that. Honestly, if you're worrying about your gas as a Zerg player, I would suggest getting, I believe, Mutalisks, and Swarm Hosts are also very good, and Ultralisks. Those three units are actually pretty heavy on the gas, so if you're wanting to get rid of gas and they're in your tech path, definitely go for them and get them out. And something definitely like to point out from the composition from the Zerg player is that he wasn't really on tier 3 tech. He did have the Mutalisks, and towards the late game he kind of forsook. I believe that's the correct term, correct form of the verb. But he kind of forsook the Mutalisks for more Banelings and Zerglings. While that did help against the Marines, the problem was as the siege tanks got more damage out on the units, he wasn't able to get the Baneling connects as he needed to. And Mutalisk would have been help against that. Another thing I could have suggested there is an Ultralisk switch. That could have helped as well against both the bio and the tanks, which it's really, honestly, siege tanks are a siege tank, bio tank mine, or not bio tank mine, bio tank is very, very tough to deal with the Ultralisks. So that would be what I would suggest for him. But the Terran side of the field, I like multiple things in his play. One of them being the fact that he was able to split his army up accordingly, and as well as keeping his tanks spread out so that he was able to optimize his units to the best of their abilities. And this is one thing that I've kind of been saying for a while, guys. If you're a Terran player and you can micro, you're definitely going to be putting yourself ahead. And, I mean, this is just a perfect example of the Banelings. If the Banelings had hit the good connects, because his army was clumped together, the engagements probably wouldn't have gone too much into his favor. Something to work on from the Terran player, definitely needs to work on getting his gas down. I think that's a little bit of the problem with Bio Tank, and going for a large number of Marines off the bat. What I would suggest is either A, getting a factory a little bit sooner and going into medevac slash tank production to keep up with that. Another thing that I think that would help with that is the fact of keeping up on your bases. The Terran player was on 3 bases, on 2 bases, and he wasn't really up where he should be. At this point in the game, if this was like a macro game, I would like to see at least 5 bases from the Terran. So, 4 to 5. I can guess 4 is probably good for the composition he's doing, because he doesn't really need as many resources as if he was doing something like mech play, which will require 5. But you definitely want to be around that number, and expand. That's the one thing I think I can suggest to him, is keep up on your expansions and keeping up on your resources, especially that gas production. So folks, I think that's going to be it. As always, if you enjoyed the cast, please comment, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And comment with feedback or any of that stuff. If you're interested in any of my other content, in the description below there is a link to my Twitch stream, as well as some other stuff that will be stuff that I am going to do, and stuff I'm into right now. So take a look at that. Also take a look at my streaming schedule and my casting schedule, which is going to be down below in the description as well. And so besides that, guys, thank you for joining me, and we'll see you on the next cast.